I guess one of my big points in my head, kind of floating around right now, still, and I think I figured out how to put it into words finally, is I'm wondering if function is more important than immediate apparent truth. So I'm wondering
what does function mean?
So once you've set goals, right? What is going to get you to that goal best or fastest or most effectively? Most often, you want, actually, I would say probably always you want as much information as possible. So I'm still on board with that. With more information is better, right? Almost always. But I'm thinking, for example, like a man on his deathbed, he's 85 years old and has cancer, right? There are a number of stories or narratives he can tell himself about his current situation. Say that the doctors give him like a 10% chance of living, right? And this has happened over and over again where that happens. Okay, well, he's got like a 10 to 20% chance of living, and it's probably like in the next year he'll be gone, right? If he just accepts that, the chances that will become the reality increase. If he doesn't accept that and he tells himself a story contrary to that data, right, contrary to the probabilities of his situation, the chances that the opposite will happen increase. So the chances that he'll overcome it, or the placebo effect kicks in, or whatever else, and there is science behind that too. Mm-hmm. I guess my point would be that, like, in that moment, the raw data would suggest that he should just accept his fate. That's the way it is. That's probability, blah, blah, blah. And so, but if he's telling himself a story that itself is not totally true, right? If he wakes up every morning and says, no, I'm going to beat this. This is going to be great. I have no doubt in my mind, right, mm-hmm. that I'm going to beat this. The chance that he'll beat that significantly increases. We now know that, right?
But why is that not true?
Why is what not true?
Why is that hope or belief, mm-hmm. or it sounds more like an aspiration? Why mm-hmm. is that in conflict with the truth?
I think truth with a capital T, it's not. But this, and that's why I think there's a really important distinction there, because the truth from like a God's eye view, no, right? It doesn't contradict that. So,
I see.
Yeah. So like
you think it contradicts the seeing reality how it is, though?
Because of what you said. We can't see reality how it is. We can't see all the information. We don't have all the data points, right? So from like macro perspective, it never contradicts truth, because I don't think you really can, But from an immediate perspective, what information do I have? How much do I know? What are my odds of living?
None of that is false, though. Like that person is still acting consistent with the world. I mm-hmm. mean, even having a hope is like, if having the hope makes you feel better and you want to feel better, then having the hope seems like a perfectly congruent thing to do.
But the point is that the story he's telling himself is not necessarily a founded story. It's not necessarily supported by the science. It's not supported by the evidence. The story, for example, again, is I will survive this. Actually, the odds are you won't. So you're telling yourself a story that is against the current reality, that's against the current probability. But because you're doing that,
probability is not. I don't know. I might be more like the guy. I might not. The pessimism of a 10% likelihood is another story. That because the doctor told me 10% when they don't know, but right. I'm guessing it might be rational to take that on and go, oh, okay. So there is a 10%. So you're telling me there's a chance, right?
So you're telling me there's a chance.
Like you're like, okay.
I agree.
So like but it wouldn't be a false story. It would be like a hopeful, like, I don't know that hope, I guess I should say it like this. I don't know that hope has a truth value. Like being hopeful about something
really
can't be a false.
I think it does.
It sounds like I'm just.
Well, you could. Well, because it'd be like saying if you said I'm really depressed, and I said no, you're not. Right? Either you're lying or that statement didn't make any sense.
Yeah, right.
Or if you said I'm so hungry right now, and I said that's false,
mm-hmm.
and as if you would just check in and go, oh my gosh, you're right. I'm not hungry, right?
No, but sorry to interrupt if you don't mind, just because I feel like there is this kind of thing going on where there's like this miscommunication. and it sounds to me like what I would say, listening from the outside, is that it sounds like you are kind of pushing back, saying that it's almost like there's no such thing as objective reality.
Not that we can see.
Yeah, and then
we will never know the
it's
truth
like
for
you're
sure.
saying, it's like you're saying, you're saying that everything that he's saying is included in the reality that you should try to see, right?
Yeah, and that because we won't know for sure, I couldn't. Let's just say I will never have the God's eye view. I'll never be able to see every particle in action, including my own brain. And but if we mean anything by truth, or we mean anything by discovering truth, or using data, or collecting information, or learning, I should say, then what we mean is we can interpret and articulate something that is consistent with the way the world is, such that we can use it and get somewhere else that is also true. So like chemistry or physics or something. Like if we can put somebody on the moon, we accounted for enough data that, so I don't know what's in a black hole, but we didn't need to know that to get to the moon. We just needed to know what's between here and the moon. So you can get there. And kind of like with illness, if I know that being hopeful is going to be better for my beating this illness, I might be hopeful because I'm using that. I'm like, almost like I'm tricking my own brain and body, and then do that.
And that's part of the function of it.
Yeah, if your goal is to survive.
I mean, it almost sounds
if your goal is living, right?
Just to throw this out there to get opinion on it. This is a really hippy, like hippy dippy thing, but almost sounds like what you're saying could be interpreted as, rather than saying try to see reality how it is, it's like you're saying try to create your reality.
Well, it's
like
that is the same thing to me.
And that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
you can create your reality based on the facts you choose to focus on, and then amplify them in a way that changes your narrative in a way that makes your life better. And Peterson talks about this, right? Like you can never take in all information.
Yeah.
It's always channeling through this very narrow gate. Our scope is really narrow on reality because we can only ever focus on one or two things at a time, right? And so the guy on the deathbed can think, okay, 90% chance I'm going to die in like a year, right? Or he can think, okay, 10% chance and I'm going to live, And so it really is just a reframing of reality, and it's which narrative do you want to choose, even if you choose the one that is less supported by your current situation. It's less supported by the realities and science behind your current situation. That's what I'm saying. So the immediate truth is like, no, you're probably going to die. But in his head, that's not the truth. In his head, he's trying to figure out that bigger truth, by partly telling himself a story that isn't itself founded in perfect reality.
I'll throw a different wrench into this. In hindsight, everything has 100% probability.
Right.
Nothing
that happens.
It doesn't make sense if you said, well, did you eat breakfast today? And I said, yeah, 50-50, or if I said, there's about an 80% chance that I ate breakfast today.
Yeah.
It's almost like, what would you call it? It's a joke. It's like an old person joke. It's like an Alzheimer's joke. That's like, I have no idea. I don't even remember, right? That you almost like, I'm not a good authority on that. You have to ask someone else.
Right.
So, and the reason it's funny is because it's so obvious, because everything already happened. And if you said, how likely is it that you actually went to a different elementary school than the one you went to? Makes no sense. But if you were in kindergarten and I said, how likely is it that you're going to go to this other elementary school? Different conversation, right? Because we can't predict that part of the future.
Right.
We don't have enough data. But so in terms of creating your own reality, or here's where I part ways from the New Age. The New Age would say that there's something cosmically free about that behavior, where you are not bound by nature, the laws of physics, the world around you, et cetera, that you can make a choice that is independent of whatever you got going on. You look lost. Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Double checking the camera.
Just wondering.
Didn't want to make sure the laptop.
Just checking in.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Checking in.
Just noticing. So
good job seeing reality how it is.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm trying my best. So I guess just there's no way that you could know that is happening, that there's some aspect of you that is truly unbound by the world and the universe as it is. But the other way, maybe a more Petersonian way of looking at it, is that because you are completely enmeshed with the world around you, you are your world. Your thoughts are you, and your thoughts are the product of everything that's ever happened to you, that you are participating in your world, whether you like it or not. So whatever you do end up doing or deciding or thinking, that is going to be the way it goes because you don't have another option, right? As opposed to, and Peterson's good at rallying people like that, like where just when you thought you could be over here being miserable and that you thought you weren't affecting anyone else, he lets you know, no, that badness, that spreads because everywhere you go, you're in a bad mood and you're talking negatively to people, and the outcome is always going to be bad for everybody. So don't just do it for you, but you'll be the first to benefit. So anyway, if I'm taking probability, there is some perfect situation. I could just imagine the guy on his deathbed, right? He has this year-long prognosis. The doctor's saying you have a 10% chance of living might mean something like only 10% of people in your circumstances end up living. But if you were God, you could rearrange particles of the universe, or you could say, oh, all you need to do is eat more spinach, drink more orange juice, and take Advil, and some weird combination that you never knew because we just don't have enough data.
Yeah.
But there is a 100% circumstance where that person does not die, and there is a lot of 100% circumstances where he does die.
Yeah.
So the role of like having a good attitude or being positive or something, I interpret that as adding as many ingredients as you can to make it more likely that one of those ingredients gets you to where you want to go. So if I want a job and I go to the interview and I'm wearing sandals and cargo shorts and my hair's messed up and I'm disheveled and I'm not wearing a shirt, and the boss says, I'm sorry, I don't think you're going to be right for this. And I say, I showed up on time. What do you mean? I wasn't late. And they might say, well, that's not the only thing that gets you a job.
Yeah.
So now I got to dress the part. I got to be on time. I got to speak well. And so there's this big grab bag. And anyone who's ever left a job interview not exactly sure whether they got it is a great sample of the subjective experience of uncertainty while trying to put yourself within that high probability margin where you're like, okay, I did what I think is 100% of what I could have done to get this job. I'm hoping it was enough. And if the Venn diagram overlaps and what the boss wanted versus what you did, if those end up being the same thing, you get the job, right? But we'll never have enough data to know perfectly. There's no amount of interviewing or, we're always guessing a little, like driving, going back to that. We're all driving around going, okay, 10 and 2, I hope I live, I hope I get to where I'm going.
Yep.
And miraculously, we made it here today.
Right. Yeah. And in order to not be afraid on the road, you have to tell yourself the story that you're going to be okay.
Yeah.
But that's part of what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask you.
We tell ourselves stories all the time that aren't necessarily true or supported by the evidence. So this is the point I want to kind of push back with, is that every belief, and we've talked about this, right, has some faith in the sense that we're not really certain about anything, So what closes the gap between mystery and certainty would be something like faith.